So what I want to show you in this video are some basic capabilities of Power Automate and how easy it is to create your own automation using the service. Now you'll typically find this service inside most Microsoft 365 environments, and to do so you select the menu option here, locate the Power Automate option. This will take you to a page that looks like this. Now from here what we want to do is select the option to create. Now we can create from a template and we can also build our own. In this case we're going to build our own, and the basic outline of a flow or an automation process is a trigger, something changes, and then we take some actions on that. Now we can select from the menu options here and go through a guided creation process, but I'm going to select the option down the bottom to skip to building your own flow, as I think it provides some more flexibility. Now what I need to firstly do is create a trigger. Now the trigger can be any service, both Microsoft and external. Now in this case what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a Twitter service. So see here that I've already connected up my Twitter environment here, and the trigger is going to be when a new tweet is posted. So anytime a new tweet is posted, this automation will kick off. Now what I want to do is I want to basically search any new tweet for the word Microsoft here. So that's the search text. You can put in here anything you want. So again, the idea here is every time a new tweet is posted to Twitter, it will be searched using this automation, and if it matches Microsoft, then I'm going to go and take some actions. Now the action that I want to take is I actually want to output that tweet text to SharePoint. So again, I'll select the option here to go to SharePoint or connect to SharePoint. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I want to actually go in and create an item. So I want to take the text that was tweeted out from one that matched my search and put it into a SharePoint list. So I just need to go in here and firstly locate the SharePoint site that I want that output to go to, and also the list. So I've already pre-created that. Now the question is, what do I want to appear in that SharePoint list? Now you'll see on the right hand side I get the ability to select what's known as dynamic content. So this is information that's returned from that very first action around Twitter. In this case I'm going to select just the tweet text. So it's going to do a search in Twitter for the text when a new tweet appears. It will grab that information about that tweet, and then it will take that and output that to a SharePoint list called tweets, and the information it will post in the actual item there will be the tweet text. Alright. Now once you've created a flow, it's very important that you make sure that you go and save that. So push the save button down the bottom or in the top right hand corner. You can, if you want, go up the top here, select that and rename it. I'm going to call that Capture Tweets. Alright, so that is now, again, I'll push save to make sure that is saved. Now once I've done that, I want to actually go in and trigger this. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to select the option here to test that. I'm going to manually kick that off. Alright, so that is going to now start running, looking for new tweets that appear and search those for the text Microsoft. So you'll see here that we get confirmation that it has run successfully. I get green ticks. I can drill into any of these to get more information if I want low-level information. But what I'll do is let me go over to my SharePoint list, and again you'll see here that we already have a number of items that are appearing here. All right, so this again is coming from that automation. All right, so what I've done again here is simply search Twitter and then output the tweet to a SharePoint list. All right, so again, very easy, very straightforward, and again, only 2 steps in that process. Now what I'll do here is I will go in and delete this, otherwise I'm going to be continually capturing Twitter information. So let me go in there and simply delete that. That's how easy it is to go and delete a flow here. Now the next one that I want to look at here is taking some action on an email as it arrives into Microsoft 365. So what I want to do is basically take the attachment that may come with an email, and I want to store that in a location inside my OneDrive for Business. Now, before I go out and create my flow, I'm going to need to create the destination where these attachments will be placed. So I'm going to go into my OneDrive and create an appropriate folder. In this case, you'll see it is called download. So I'll need to target that when I create my flow. So let's go back to Power Automate and go in and create a new flow here. Again, I'm going to build my own, and I'm going to skip and basically build this manually. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to basically need to connect to the Outlook service. So again, just do a search for Outlook. So again, we're looking for Outlook in Microsoft 365. So we select the item here when a new email arrives. So that's going to be the trigger when we receive a new email into our account. All right, so when we receive it into our inbox. So next we need to decide what action to take once this has been triggered. So I'm going to go here and add a new step. And what we're going to do is we want to connect it to the OneDrive server. So we do a search for OneDrive here in the list of connectors. Select that. And I want to create a file. Now it's going to ask us for some parameters. So the first is, where do we want that file to be stored? Now it's going to go through and just navigate to the location in OneDrive, which I've already created. So again, you'll see here that I can navigate and I can find that. Now, what do I want the file name to be called? I want it to be the same as my attachment. So what I can do is select that field and scroll down from the list of options that are available to me, and you'll see here that I want to match the attachment name, which has come from that email once it arrives in my inbox. So I'm going to select that. Now immediately you'll notice that Power Automate puts basically a loop applied to each around this, because remember, there could be multiple attachments with each email, so it may have to loop through a number of these. So again, what we need to do is just select this, and you'll see we've got the name in there. What we need to do is just scroll down here and actually add the content. So the content is what the information is in the file. So we want to match the name and the content and put it in this location inside our OneDrive. So again, quickly, what's happening here is when a new email arrives in the inbox, that triggers the flow, and we know all about that email. Then what we want to do is loop through all of those emails and create a mirror of that attachment name and also the attachment content into our OneDrive for Business. So this time what I'm going to do is go up the top here, and I'm going to basically go in here and hopefully rename save file to OneDrive for Business. So I'll give it a name, and then again I'll go up here and I will save that. So make sure that you do save after every update there. I'm going to go in and do a flow checker. All right, so it's making sure that there are no errors, and then I am going to go in and select the option to manually execute this. So it's going to then sit in the background and execute, but it's going to wait for an email to arrive that has an attachment before any action or trigger takes place. So with that ready to go, let's pop across to the inbox here. You'll see there are no emails received as yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send an email with an attachment from another environment. All right, so let me just make sure that everything is correct here. Push the button to send that. Now, hopefully that won't take too long to appear in the inbox, and when it does, then that is going to be the trigger for that flow. It's going to take that attachment and put it into OneDrive for Business. So here is the email. All right, so it has been received. You'll see I've got an attachment here. So what we want to check now is we want to make sure that our flow has executed. So let's go across here. All right, so you'll see here that our flow is still running, and you'll see now that it has run successfully. So remember that the trigger is receiving an email with an attachment, and if we click in here, we'll get the results here. So you'll see the actions that it has actually taken. Remember that it doesn't happen instantaneously because it is a process that does run in the background. So if we now go over to our downloads folder, you'll see basically that I have the item here. All right, so there is the attachment that has been arrived. So really simple, really handy flow. Now remember that when we create these flows, we can basically target them to any connected service. Now the connectors reside here under an option, and you'll see that you get connectors from the Microsoft 365 environment, also external Microsoft connectors, but also third parties, as I've indicated, such as Twitter. Now some of those will obviously require authentication to achieve, and remember that you don't have to connect necessarily to your own services in Microsoft 365. You can also go in and connect to shared mailboxes, common SharePoint lists, document libraries, and so on. All right, so really, really easy, straightforward. And again, if we have a look at this flow, if you do want to go back in and edit it, we can just select this to go in and select the edit option. We can go back in here and we can update, change, we can extend, we can step through this, and so on. So the idea again was any email, once it arrives, will trigger the flow, and then it will take the attachments associated with that flow and save them out into the nominated location, being OneDrive for Business. So pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So what I'm going to do again is just delete this. So I finished with that flow. I'm going to remove it, and we're going to have a look basically at the last option here, a little bit more complex. It's going to go out and call an API, and then it is going to post the results from that into Microsoft Teams. So in this flow, what I want to do is I want to call an API which will return a graphic image, basically a cartoon strip, and then I want to post that into Microsoft Teams. Now, if we have a look at our Microsoft team here, I'm going to post it into the general channel, so obviously the destination needs to exist. Now, if I go out and have a look at the API, so this is a call to a Dilbert comic, you'll see when I do that, this is the return that I get. So I get a title, and I also get basically a link to a graphic file. So if I take that graphic file, all right, and just show you what it looks like so that we know. So if I'm going to simply display this. So what I'm going to do with my Power Automate is effectively do what I did just then. I'm going to go call the API, copy that URL, the image URL that you see here, and I'm going to post it into Teams. So let's go back to our Power Automate. Let's go in and once again go in and create my own flow. So build your own. And I'm going to skip to and build my own flow. So in this case, I'm going to want to trigger my flow manually. Typically what I would do is set up a time-based trigger so that it happens basically once a day. But in this case, I'm just going to do a manual trigger. So I'm going to manually kick things off. Now the next thing I need to do is basically go in and make what's called a HTTP action. So if I put in HTTP here, all right, you'll see that I have an option, and in here you'll notice that I get an indication these are premium connectors. So a premium connector may need a more advanced license, which you can purchase on a monthly basis, or you can also connect to Azure to build those premium licenses on demand, which is exactly what I've done here. So I'm going to select the HTTP action. You'll see here now I have to go through and understand that what I need to do is I need to get, so that's going to go in and retrieve the information. What I need to do is take a copy of that API call. So this is what is going to be called. All right, so I'm going to go into that. Now, in this case, there are no basic parameters or authorization, but you'll see here under advanced options, you can go in and set authentication. You can call from all sorts of APIs in there. So once I've got that, what's the next thing I need to do? Well, I'm going to get back basically the string that looks like this. So this is going to be the return. So that's all the Power Automate is going to do. Now what I need to do is I need to make sense of this and pull out the image URL here. So the way that I'm going to do that is using an action here called pass. All right, so I'm going to go in and pass the JSON. All right, now what I'm going to do is it needs to know sort of the formatting beforehand, but I'm going to generate from a sample. So what I did is I went in and copied the full result here, and in this case I'm just going to post that in, and that is going to give Power Automate an idea of what the format looks like. So I'm going to go in and select done. All right, so it's already basically gone in and done that. Now where's it going to get the content from? Well, it's going to basically get it from the previous action, which was the HTTP request, and it's going to be the body. So when I do a web request, I'm going to get basically this body returned, and then what I want to do is run it through some capability to determine where the image is. So once I've done that, I now know that in there it's identified the image for me. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to post the results from that into Teams. So let's do a search here for an action that is linked to Teams. So you'll see here that what I want to do, I've got lots of options. So let's select Teams to drill into this a bit more. All right, now the action that I want to typically select here, so I'm going to want to post a message. All right, so you'll see a post, let's make that a bit easier. So post a message in a chat or channel. So I'm going to select that. And in this case, it'll post it as the Flowbot, but it could also post it as the user if you want. And it's going to now ask me what channel I want to put that in. All right, so the idea here is that I'm just going to put it into, the standard area here. So I'm going to put it into a channel. All right, and now it's going to ask me for the team. What team do I want to put it into? So I'm just going to put it on the generic team, and again, what channel am I going to post it in? So in essence, I've already set up this destination, so this is going to be the channel that it posts it into. Now, once I've done all that, it's okay. Now I come to formatting the message. Now you can just type in text and so on, but in this case, because we're getting back a parameter, a link to a site in on the internet, what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to put this into HTML format. All right, so what I do is I turn on the HTML editor here, and what I'm going to do is basically post in the first part of the HTML, and then I will go down and look at my parameters in my dynamic content. Now, when I did that pass of the JSON result, you'll see that it now knows there's a title and an image in there, so I'm going to put in the image. All right, so that means it's going to take whatever it finds from the results of that HTTP request and tidy it up a bit, and then allow me to use that directly. So it's automatically generated those parameters for me. So I'll just finish that off with a width and a height just to make it look nice in my environment. So once I've done that, I'm going to go in and save my flow again. All right, and again what I'll do is I'll just call that Dilbert. Okay, so now that I've done that, make sure that I go in and save once again. So quickly again, I'm going to manually trigger the flow. It's going to go out to a website. It's going to come back with some results. It's going to tidy up those results, and then it's going to take the image from those results and put it into my Microsoft team. So what I'm going to do is manually kick this off. So let's go in and manually test that. Select the option. All right, so you'll see here that it's connecting to a new service called Microsoft Teams. I've already got the authentication. It's going to go and run the flow. Now that it runs the flow, I'm going to get back the results, and it says that it has run successfully. So I've manually triggered it. It's gone out and done that HTTP request, and you'll see that it's brought this back. It's now tidied up the results here, and it's got a title and an image, and then it's posted that successfully into Teams. Now if I go across to Teams, all right, so you'll see here that I get a post from Power Automate. All right, so let me just refresh the screen maybe just to tidy that up. You'll see that after refreshing the page, we do get basically exactly the same comic as expected. So here it is in Teams, and if I have a look at the output from the API, you'll see that basically it is the same comic. So nice and easy way to, for example, pull information from places on the internet. That API call could be to a range of services, really that simple to do. So again, the way that we achieved that was we went in and we manually triggered our flow. All right, so let's go back in here and go in and edit. And you'll see that we manually triggered our flow, went and did a HTTP request. Remember, the HTTP request is generally a premium connector, so there would be an additional cost of licensing involved. We tidy up the results or determine what the results basically are, and then we can take those results and we can post that into Teams. So hopefully with all that, you've got a better idea and understanding of some of the basic capabilities that Power Automate and Flow can provide. So the source of it is to look at the connectors that are available to you, and you can create custom connectors as well if you want, but typically what you'll be doing is connecting to existing Microsoft services or listed third-party ones, which again in this case I did indicate how we can do that with things like Twitter. Once you've got that, you can then go in and start creating your own flows. Remember that you can start with a template, make it easier, and you can go in and build your own. When you do build your own, you can step through this wizard here, or you can skip to going in and building your own flow. Now, simply put, a flow is a connection of services together and actions, and you can do this with a block style diagram without having to write any low-level code. So really handy, really easy way to automate a lot of stuff in your environment. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea, a bit of a feel for what Power Automate is all about. And I hope that you take that opportunity to go in, have a look at your own environment and look at automating some of your tasks. And it is quite easy and simple. My advice is firstly, make sure that you do save after every update, you do test regularly, and you really are going to make life a whole lot easier if you do that. Thank you very much for watching the video.